There are some pretty rude people in the world, but some countries seem to have a higher concentration of them, especially towards tourists. What's up everyone? Welcome back to FinnaTravel. The other day I was scrolling through Reddit and I came across a few threads of travelers sharing their experiences, and it got me thinking. So I did some research and compiled data from several polls ranking the top 10 countries with the rudest people. Here's what I found. Number 10, Poland. Well, this one just seems to make sense. Some people even thought it should be much higher on the list. In 1939, Germany and the Soviets invaded Poland from both sides, within 16 days of each other, triggering World War II. This led to a devastating occupation for years and communist rule after the war. The Poles were simply wrecked at every level. Although the war has been over for decades, there's bound to be some mistrust of foreigners. It's sadly the reason many go to Poland today to visit Auschwitz-Birkenau, a World War II museum and former Nazi concentration camp. Poland sees about 20 million visitors every year, so there's a lot of rubbing shoulders. Just remember that Poles tend to be direct when communicating, so it's possible that they may appear rude when they're just trying to be clear. And it's not all dark and grim. There are some pretty cool places to see, like the Tatra Mountains and the Baltic coast. Do your part to stay positive and learn to say thank you in Polish. Dziękuję. Number 9, Egypt. Of course, the pyramids of Giza and the world's longest river, the Nile, are undoubtedly the top attractions in Egypt. Roughly 15 million people visit Egypt each year, but the government is trying to attract 30 million people by 2028. It's safe to say that the authorities and businesses love all the attention, but the locals that don't benefit from all those tourists clearly don't share their affection. Many visitors reported being pressured into buying things, price gouging, and just being yelled at for no apparent reason. But that ain't the half of it. If you're a woman, you just might be harassed and picked on even more, especially if you stand out as a tourist. Although we did see reports of more friendly encounters the further you venture out from the big cities like Cairo. Egyptians love their strong cardamom-infused coffee, so if you're offered some, show some respect and learn to say thank you in Arabic. Shukran. Number 8, Italy. Ah, the home of the best food in the world. Come on, think about it. Pizza, ice cream, or gelato if you're being particular. Spaghetti, Tuscany wines. Maybe it's because I'm part Italian or pasta is my kryptonite. But for many, this is comfort food. But like any culture, they can be rude, especially if 75 million tourists are visiting each year. You may not even notice how much unless you understand all their hand signs. You see, when Italians talk, their hands are quite animated, and several of those expressions are kinda rude. The most common hand gesture that means, "What are you talking about?" is usually not delivered in the kindest way. Then there's others that mean, "Get away," "What do I care?" and "I can't stand you," although some may be often used in jest. Now, I've been to Italy myself and have had some really great experiences. So just because the Italians have a reputation for being rude and many people share that sentiment on their travels, don't let that define your trip. Just be kind when you interact with the locals and be sure to say grazie, and you just might knock this country out of the top 10 with each smile. Number 7, Spain. As the second most visited country in the world, welcoming at its peak almost 84 million people in 2019, there's an endless amount of fun to be had and food to eat. In Madrid, be sure to visit the oldest restaurant in the world, Sobrino de Botín, established in 1725. With that insane volume of people passing through, you can expect some unpleasantries. From signs in windows telling foreigners to go home, to shouts and insults of stranger and calling people stupid, many have reported some very unpleasant visits. What appears to be a common theme is that the level of rudeness tends to go up the closer you are to the big cities like Madrid. Learning about their culture can help reduce your frustrating encounters. So don't go making a ton of noise or knocking on a shop's closed door during a siesta, but definitely say gracias to show how thankful you are. Number 6, the United States. Wait, how did we get on this list?
There must be some mistake.
Okay, I guess it's partly true. Granted, I'm not a tourist from another country coming to visit the United States, and while most of the tourist areas are genuinely friendly and welcoming of tourists, there are definitely some hostile areas. And a recent report by Passport Photo Online states almost 50% of American tourists actually ended up traveling within the states due to inflation and higher travel costs in recent years. Before the pandemic, the United States welcomed 75 million tourists on average each year. Although that number is slowly rising, this country is huge, so there's a lot to explore and dozens of mini cultures within the land of the free and the home of the brave. Most of the complaints seem to be concentrated in California, New York, and other big cities.
I'm sensing a theme.
Number 5, China. China has a reputation for not being all that welcoming to Americans in the first place, as we explained in this video. In general, the Chinese people are respected, caring, and hospitable. But the government is known to enforce some arbitrary laws and wrongfully detain American citizens. It's pretty obvious that Chinese citizens are under a lot of pressure to comply with their communist government and could be very suspicious of foreigners. So what may seem rude might just be self-preservation from their own tyrannical leaders. Although some of the travelers from our research complained of loud yelling, spitting on the ground, and cutting in line, I mean,
who does that?
The locals do appreciate a small bow and handshakes, but avoid direct eye contact. Apparently, that's a big no-no. China sees about 57 million tourists a year. I know I personally would love to see the Great Wall of China someday and eat authentic Chinese food. Start practicing with chopsticks if you want to make a good impression, and learn to say xie xie to show your gratitude. Number 4, the United Kingdom. Now this one surprised me a bit because from my experience, the majority of people I know from the UK are kind and polite. So this might just come down to cultural differences. I mean, they still have a castle with an acting king or queen and some very strict etiquette and societal norms where everything needs to be proper and in order. One common mistake travelers make is assuming that because both countries speak the same language, their cultures should be similar, right?
No.
For example, Americans are a little more direct than British in conversations with new acquaintances, asking things like, "What do you do?" or "Where do you live?" Questions that really only close friends would discuss in their culture, not strangers. Brits are also quite sarcastic, and deadpan humor is pretty common, leading to some awkward silences and explanations that they were only joking.
How rude.
If you're one of the 31 million visitors to the United Kingdom this year, be sure to say thank you more often than you would at home and pinkies up when you drink your tea. Number 3, Germany. If you love the motherland and your country has a history for starting up not one, but 2 world wars because, and I'm not making this up, you think you're better than the rest of the world, you're likely to be rude to foreigners. Now, I'm sure not all Germans think that about the 38 million or so tourists that visit their country every year, but their history of anti-Semitism does play a major role in shaping their culture. True, it's been many years since the end of World War II, and maybe some aren't holding on to grudges, but it's pretty common knowledge that Germans in public are quite, abrasive.
These Germans are bothering me.
Even physically pushing people out of their way or just straight up ignoring you. It's a shame though, because, well, we just want people to be nice to us, right? I only passed through Germany once on my travels, but if I get to stay in Germany someday, I'm definitely checking out some of their castles and getting a warm apple strudel. Next time you visit and receive help, look people in the eye, give them a firm handshake, and say, Danke. Number 2, Russia. Doesn't the word Russian mean rude in English? Okay, I'm just kidding. Well, with all those stoic expressions, one could easily assume that correlation. The face says it all. I know some who would say it comes down to culture, and there's an element of truth to that. But would it really hurt you to smile? Even just a little? Russians are known to carry almost no emotion in their facial expressions, and for many that just seems rude. And if you smile at them, they think you're the one being rude. This looks like a vicious cycle to me. But it's more than just looks, according to some travelers. I sure wouldn't want to be stuck on the Trans-Siberian Railway, the longest railway in the world, with a crowd of people that wouldn't even give you a friendly smile. That's a long, hard, miserable time for a lot of people used to joyful faces.
Russians.
About 25 million people visit Russia each year to see the Kremlin, the Red Square, and the famous cathedrals, along with other fascinating sights. But with the current war in Ukraine, it's not a country we'd recommend visiting right now. If you do go someday or have a Russian-speaking friend, practice saying spasiba to show gratitude. You may have noticed with each location, I've been teaching you how to say thank you in the native language of each country. Now, I know this list is subjective, and you're bound to meet many kind and generous people as well as rude ones in these countries, but I believe showing kindness goes a long way. There's a proverb in the Bible, Proverbs 15:1, that says a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So our goal with this list is not just to inform you of where you might feel provoked, but what you could do to show gratitude toward others and possibly turn some hostile situations around. Capiche? Number 1, France. Wait a minute, isn't Paris in France and Paris is the city of love? Yeah, that's what I thought too. Not only is France the number 1 spot on every list that we researched, the comments go on and on about how rude the French are that you can't help but grab a bucket of popcorn and just start chuckling. Maybe it's actually the city of Karens. Close to 84 million people venture to France each year to visit the Eiffel Tower's grandeur and explore the treasures of the Louvre. When I was in high school, I took French because I thought I would love to make that trek someday. And I still hope to. Most of the complaints of the locals being rude come from folks that try to order food in English instead of French.
You're not speaking French!
And it's not because they don't speak English. They want you to know that you're in their country. So next time you go to order a ratatouille or coq au vin, learn to practice your French and say merci when it arrives. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If so, check out this video of places where Americans are not welcome and let us know in the comments what country you felt ousted in the most. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.